Hey guys, so a lot of you have asked me to provide you with some clarity or some guidance on the recording of expenses. So I'm going to go ahead and take a minute to explain. This is for step 13, specifically the expenses that are available in this assignment. So let me transition over to your expenses. Moses, thank you for sharing your spreadsheet with us. You can see that there's 6 transactions. I'm going to start with the easy one, which is the last one. You can see that there's an electronic payment that was done all at once. There was not an invoice that we received. We simply got a bill that needed to be recorded. So unlike, so when we do this, we're going to see that the due date is 12/30 and it gets automatically drafted from our checking account for 1,193.24, whatever your amount is. So I'm going to do that on Moses and record an expense. I am going to pay PG&E, EGMP. Let's go to EGMP. And what payment account am I using? I'm not using cash. I'm going to use my business checking. What date am I paying? 12/30/24. That's when it's automatically going to be drafted out of my account. The payment method is auto draft, so I could create a new one that says auto draft or EFT. And then the reference number, I like to use the reference number of the bill, 2024-1101. And then we can look at these details. Now, you can see that the total net power due was 1,034 plus some government fees. In general, all of them are going to be gas and electric. So I can just put electric here, electricity, and electricity. And so, and then I just type in the amount. Sorry about that. 1193.24 is what he has, and this is net 2024. I can put it on the description to be exact, so it comes from my general ledger, right? Now, since this is not an item that I'm buying for resale, I'm going to use the category section of his expense, not the item details. This is when we buy stuff for resale. So I'm going to ignore this. I know this was explained on both in the expenses side. Both sections are explained, but we're not using the items in this case, right? We could have had a vendor that gave us both items and then other expenses such as service fees, etc. that we're not going to resell, and so you would split it like that. This item details keep tracks of inventory items as you already done with your bills. So I'm just going to save and close this, and we're done with that. Now I'm going back to these transactions, and on the transaction section, let me go back to this one. Now this is a little confusing for some of you because it is an expense that was created on 3/18/2024 for 166.03. But when you look at the link for the receipt, boom, you get a statement, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with all of this, right? Well, we're just looking at the expense. Typically, this is it, right? That expense. Then you're gonna record this expense in a minute, right? And then you're gonna record this expense in a minute, and this expense in a minute. Let me make sure that I explain this. This is a merchant account. It's like a savings account that you use when you take payments from a credit card. Payments with somebody that pays you with a credit card, right? So if they pay you with a credit card, like in this case, Aurora Frost, paid you with this with a credit card, 5714. So what the bank does is it creates a deposit, uh, So it deposits that amount, processes it, puts it into your merchant account. From there, it will assess you whatever the merchant processing fee is. So whatever they charge them, typically almost 3%, then they only transfer the amount that remains after that. So you never get a bill. You just simply get your net proceeds from these. Start recording this one right here. So I'm going to do that. How am I going to do that? For the next date of this transaction. First, who do we pay? Barros Bank. Like monopoly way too much. Where is it coming from? What account are you using? Well, this was our merchant account. And if you've been doing this properly, you should have funds in there, right? Except that we haven't actually gotten to that point in this example. So he hasn't actually processed the deposit yet. So what was the amount? Payment day, we're almost done. 3/18/2024. Payment method, again, this is an electronic transfer, so EFT. I can use this as a reference. The reference number is MA, right? And then the category is going to be my merchant fees. So merchant account is the savings account or the checking account where the money is being deposited before it comes to my business checking. And the merchant account fees is the expense that I'm going to record for the merchant processing fee of that date, which is 166.03. Notice that I'm not using the item details because this is not a transaction that has to do with increasing our inventory. Again, I ignore the item details section. I just look at the category details and check the date. I'm going to go and next one, right? So I do the next one, which is the 1/10/17/04. Again, this is going to be Paros Bank again on 4. Payment method, it was an EFT. I can look at the reference number for now. Notice that I get the same uh, account. It starts learning that this is the typical category that you use. So be careful because it will also try to put the same amount. You can turn that off if you want. I like it to show up so that I can just modify and keep going. So then that's basically the first one. Then now I'm going to go to the same guy, Paros Bank, right? And then do 5/8/2024 EFT. Sorry, now I need payment EFT. My reference number of the 2024 is it's another merchant fee for 2055. Again, this is doing great. And then I'm going to do a new one. Paros Bank. Negative payment EFT. Make sure that the year is, the date is correct. And that's going to be a reference number as well, which is the Why do we need the reference number? Because we do want to search. We can search for these reference numbers in our search lens in a second. Okay, I've done this. I'm going to save and close. You could have ended this video a few minutes ago. I'm going to do the last one though, just to make sure. So back to transactions. We still have that credit card statement. Same thing here. Barra is also, we also have a credit card with Barra Bank. And if we look at this, I'm looking for an 88 transaction for 88.90. So let's look at the credit card. What am I recording? The $88.90 from interest expense. All of your numbers are different, by the way, but you're all going to have in the May statement some interest based on however much in a balance from the previous month. So in this case, Moses only had about $5,900 and in a balance that was subject to interest, and so that interest expense was about $88.90. I don't know what this is, but okay. So $88.90 is going to be my interest expense. So how do I report that? Okay. Again, Paros Bank, except now it's not going to come from my merchant account. Where is it being charged to? This is my business credit card statement. This was directly charged on my credit card, so I need to change this to my business credit card. I need to make sure that my data is accurate. This is 5/15/2024. How was it paid? Was this a direct charge or EFT? I'm just going to call it charge, right? Because it was just charged. And then what's my reference number? Well, there's no reference number. I could put the statement amount, like the statement reference, so they can look at the statement. It's no longer merchant fees. This is going to be my interest paid, expense, credit card interest. It is specifically credit card interest. If you don't have that account, interest paid is okay. I believe that your check figures, though, so let me go back to your check figures, kind of consolidate these two. So when you're doing your check figures, interest expense is going to be one line. So why don't we just use one interest paid so that it can be all consolidated together when you look at the loan. And this is for credit card interest, May 2024, right? And what was the amount again? Let's go back to our credit card statement for May, and that was $88.90 for May. $8.90 credit card interest. Check. And again, this is just an expense, so that's it. That's all the expenses, guys. Got it done in less than 5 minutes.